I have another health condition that I just found out about last week, and I have calmed down. It's about 4 days later. I was very distraught. So I went for a bone scan, a bone density DEXA scan, a couple weeks ago. The place that did the scans, the radiological facility, emailed me the results. Out of the 3 categories, I have osteoporosis in my left femoral neck. And so, of course, I thought, my neck. But the term femoral refers to my femur, which is my leg. So, and they just did the scan on the left side of my body. That's why it's the left, but I'm sure I have it in the right also. I'm not sure, but I'm pretty sure. You know, it's probably equally bad. Anyway, as soon as I read the results, and I hadn't talked to the doctor or anything, the room kind of started spinning. It was weird. I thought, why am I dizzy? And I would look up at the ceiling, and it was just like, it's kind of like I was drunk. Haven't felt that way in a long time, but I do remember it. It was that same vertigo feeling of just like, oh gosh. It was terrible. So I had another little symptom of this, you know, a reaction, I should say, which involved the bathroom. We won't talk about that. But anyway, I ended up going to bed a few hours later because I got this email right around 5 o'clock on a Friday. And I knew the doctor's office was not going to be open, so I didn't even attempt to call them or anything. And, you know, I had the osteoporosis before this. It's not like, you know, it just came on all of a sudden, but I just became aware of it. So I went to bed around 8 o'clock, and I was able to doze off, and I was fine then. I settled down, and I was able to sleep most of the night, and got up the next day and I felt okay. And I realized the next morning I'd had a panic attack. That's what I was doing, was like, oh no, I'm gonna die. You know, that feeling when some big thing, like, I think osteoporosis sounds horrible. I want to fall and break a hip or a leg or anything. So it really just kind of hit me. It's like, well, shoot. Because I'd had a bone scan, my first one, 2 years ago, and I had osteopenia then. And I have that in the other 2 readings. They do 3 different readings. And one of them actually got better. One got a little worse, and then my leg, my femoral neck, which is the top of the femur, the number is minus 2.70. And anything at minus 2.50 and better is osteopenia, you know, if it's in the bad range. And so it's not horrible, I don't think, but it is osteoporosis. And I don't want to have that concerned at all. So I spent the weekend doing all kinds of research, because that's what I do. When I talked to some neighbors, and several of them had osteopenia, but none of them had osteoporosis. But a few of them were nurses, and, you know, they said weight-bearing exercises, eating dairy, you know, the typical things. So I came home and, you know, looked up, and, you know, what they said was true. It's just very unsettling to me, and I've calmed down a lot about it. I've actually filmed this video twice. This is the 3rd shot at it. I was way too emotional. It was embarrassing for me to watch, so I certainly wasn't going to make you do it. But I got a call today from my doctor's office, and it was just, you know, one of the nurses, I think, who called me. She suggested, I mean, she gave me the results, like I didn't know that I had this, and, you know, I listened and I said, yes, I got the results also, so I'm aware of this. And she said, okay, the doctor recommends you take calcium and vitamin D. And there are also some medications you can take if you want. And I said, okay, thank you. And mentioned that I'd researched some of the medications and I really don't want to take them if I don't have to. Because some of them have really bad side effects. And I don't like the idea of taking a lot of prescription medicine. So today I went to Costco with a friend and I bought some vitamin D, and I had some calcium on hand. So what I've been doing, because I knew that, you know, our bodies can't absorb a lot of calcium all at once. So I have these delightful little gummy bears that are calcium. So I've been cutting them in half. You're supposed to take 2 of them a day. So I've been cutting them in half, and I'm taking one first thing in the morning, and then another half around noon, and then another half in the, like around 5 or so, and then another one at the end of the day, so that the calcium is spread out and hopefully my body can absorb it better. I looked up a bunch of exercises and I've been doing them, and now one of my heels hurts because I kind of go overboard, I think, and one of the exercises was heel raises, where you know, here's your feet and you stand up so your heels are up off the ground, and then you drop down really hard. It's supposed to stimulate bone growth. And I think I was doing too many of these the last 2 days, and now that heel is tender. It's like kind of my ankle, kind of my heel. So I thought, okay, just take a day off. Don't do any of that stuff, and maybe put shoes on next time so that it absorbs some of the impact. I don't know what to do. I have some weights that I've been strapping to my ankles and doing leg lifts, and that might be why this hurts. I'm not used to doing any of this stuff. So I know I'm not alone with any of this. And if anybody has any suggestions, if you've taken some of the medications for osteoporosis, you know, and I know every person reacts differently to medications. That's one reason I don't want to take anything, because I don't know how my body would react. And I'd really rather not, you know, do that if I don't have to. But I would love it if you could share what has worked for you. I know you can improve your bone density. And that was something I asked the nurse when she called from the doctor's office, if I could get another bone scan, like maybe after a year, because it's usually a once every 2 years type thing. And she checked, and she thinks it's once every 2 years, unless your doctor recommends you get another one, because I'd like to know if it's helping. You know, to wait 2 years, I don't want it to get worse. So I'm trying not to worry about it, but I want to be proactive and do something if I can. So let me know if you have any good suggestions, or if you have any experience with anybody else, you know, who has osteoporosis and what's worked for them. I am willing and able to listen and perhaps incorporate some new things into my daily routines to help this situation. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.